What's up, everybody? GR Zerza here, and today I have Jeremy from DMO 73 Ruler School. How are you doing, Jeremy?
I am well. Kids are asleep, ready to talk about some Force Wheel stuff. Let's go.
All right, let's get right into it. So, couple things that I really wanted to cover. A lot's going on. We got some strange times, COVID going on. I really hope everybody's being safe and being smart, and maybe putting off that one big event you wanted to go to or that one party you wanted to meet up with, and just do the right thing. And when you do, please wear a mask. Please be smart and be respectful of others.
Yeah,
First,
absolutely.
yeah. So first thing I wanted to jump into, TCG Scrubs called it quits on Force of Will, and they had kind of gone through systematically the steps that led them to this decision, and they had their reasonings, and I totally get, and I kind of agree with some of the things that they were saying. However, one thing that really jumped out to me personally was that they kept saying that they would build up their locals and then it would die down, and build up their locals and then it would die down. And to me, I feel like if they had a strong local, then they would be more willing to overlook the other, I don't know, four or five things that they had listed, and they might still be playing. Because for me personally, and I'll pull this up kind of right now, I played Street Fighter Five. It is a terrible game, and I couldn't stand it. But I played it for 2.5 years because there was a group of awesome people that met every Saturday for like 10 hours. And we would just play like fighting games, and Street Fighter Five was kind of like the hotness at the time. So for me, I was able to overlook the patch changes I didn't like, the new characters I didn't like, to be able to meet with a group. And so my thought is a strong local can really affect your mindset and give you something to look forward to. And your thoughts on that, Jeremy?
Yeah, so first off, I think it's important to note that the they have they have backed off particularly from Force of Will in the regards to New Frontiers. They did talk about in that video how they were still planning on doing the occasional Force of Will content for something like Pop or Epic Stories, more
Right.
casual formats,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is fine. I think you're probably right in regards to locals. I can't speak to what their locals community was or how active their player base was or anything like that. But coming from having the exact same experience of trying to build a local and then you hit a lull or you have to leave and it feels like nobody picks up the slack while you're gone, like that can be disheartening. So like I get that for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, and at the end of the day, at this point in time in Forceful's history, like leading up to this announcement from them, there was pretty much in terms of English consistent content. It was us over at Ruler School and then TCG Scrubs, and they had kind of risen through the ranks as that were.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and eh, throughout for the past probably about a year and a half, I think, um, Colin in particular, and and a little bit Joey, but Colin in particular, and I have kind of stood on um uh, different perspectives on the nature of content and kind of the responsibility of content. Um, and that led to, differences. And I think part of that difference is why producing content in the way they were doing before fell out of something that he wanted to be doing, or that they wanted to be doing as a group. So, I mean, regardless of those differences, though, it's always kind of a mixed bag of feelings when I see another content producer decide to walk away. Um, but regardless of the differences that I have with Colin, or that approach that they decided to take, um, at the end of the day, they produced content for the game for a very, very long time. They no doubt got the game in the eyes of people that I possibly didn't reach. And like I have to thank them for that, and I have to wish them well in the product. I genuinely wish them the best. I after I watched the video, I messaged both Oscar and Colin, and Probably should do so for Joey. I just haven't really connected with him very much, but generally, genuinely wish them the best in the projects they have moving forward. So sad to see him go, but thankful for when they were here and wishing them the best moving forward.
For sure. Yeah, one thing you said is, them catching eyes that you might not have, and that's so true because one thing, they approached the way they wanted to make their videos a lot differently because they were a collective. You were a single person. So they might have said, like, let's do it this way. And one thing that's good is they might have people interested in the game, that are more interested in that style of video, where other people might like the more ruler school style. So it is good to have a variety. And then one thing that really stands out to me too is it is so much different being a content creator for something than just being a fan of something.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure.
them saying we're done making content doesn't necessarily mean, and they did allude to the fact that they might still play the older stuff because, like, I know deep down that they probably do love this game still, but
Oh yeah, I mean they even talk about in their video that like I think Oscar puts it really well when he talks about how when they started their channel, the whole intent was to just kind of do video content casually.
right.
Like they enjoyed the game, they wanted to produce content for it kind of on the side while also enjoying the game. Like kind of like we're enjoying it, you can enjoy it too. Which I think is a perfectly fine way to approach content creation. But the nature of the beast that is YouTube, um,
Yeah.
kind of, and where we were at, drove their kind of brand recognition and audience to a place where there was definitely feeling like there was more of an obligation. And so Oscar put it best, like he's stepping back from the obligation so that he can just enjoy the game more.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
which I think again is kudos for him for recognizing that about himself. And I think it's the big piece of like none of them are saying that they're done with Force of Will. Like they're just it's just a different chapter in terms of how they're going to approach the game, which I think is fine.
Sure. And I want to personally say thank you to them for all the work. I did enjoy their videos, and I do appreciate that they spread the word about this amazing game, um, and that they are totally valid in their opinions. And, if people want to shit talk and, leave terrible comments and stuff, like, man, that's just terrible. Like, they're human beings and they put their time and work into this so that you could get enjoyment out of it. And if you don't get enjoyment out of it, then move on. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, but to the people who supported them and continue to do so, more power to you. So that was the first thing in the news. The next thing I just kind of wanted to talk about is I'm not going to go through like the spoiler, but I have some of the spoiled cards pulled up on the screen right now, and I gotta say, I'm gonna eat a little bit of my own words here and have some egg on my face because about 2-3 weeks ago, I had posted a video saying that I did not like the changes, and I'm not gonna go back on that and say that I'm changing my mind 180, but seeing some of the new art and seeing the cards, like, and just kind of scrolling through, and then when you posted your video, I think it was last week, like kind of showing the physical cards, like, I gotta say they don't look as bad as I had originally thought. So
Yeah. I think part of it is when we first uh, coming from I have a background in therapy, like it's what my degree is in, right?
sure.
And so like understanding of people, like people don't like change just as a whole.
Yes.
And this was a pretty drastic change.
Very. Yeah.
And I think that we were introduced to the change at a weird time, and B with not the best examples of what it could look like.
Yeah, and it was done
So
in a weird way too. They were just kind
right.
of like, "Shapa, here, like, look at this!" All of a sudden, out of nowhere. So,
Right. So like if you're looking at the demo decks, it's using the same card art that we've had in the past. Like it's a rehash, right?
right,
And that card art wasn't designed for that framing. That card
right.
art was designed for the OG framing or the Lapis era framing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one is I think people missed the line in the article talking about the new format where they said like we're working on text size, like it's not necessarily going to be the same way as in the demo decks, we're still figuring that out. And then I also think that people have already seen in the spoilers a big complaint that the community had was, oh, that text box is super duper white. Okay, cool. That's already been fixed. Like
Right.
your concern from the demo deck to AO4 in terms of, wow, I'm missing out on all this artwork has already seemingly been fixed if we're to believe the spoilers, because it looks like the opacity's already been turned down. Like, so there's that kind of thing. And then also, if you look at the new artwork, it's kind of, at first glance, it's not really obvious, but if you actually take a second to look at it, the positioning and the framing of the artwork works really, really well with this new framing.
It does.
Like it
I'm looking at Nightmare Night right now, and man, the cards flipping up into the nameplate, it
yeah,
just looks so cool, man.
like
Like,
it looks really, really cool. And the thing is, when they've probably had this new framing design picked out for a couple months, right? They were
right.
already planning on it, which means that when they were working on the artwork for this set, they were probably working on artwork that worked really well with this framing. Like, so when you look at, having looked at the demo decks, like, things seem kind of weirdly positioned in the demo decks, but with AO4, like, that artwork is like pretty dang centered on that strip of artwork that you're going to see on the non-full arts, and it looks really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Like I said, I still prefer like power and toughness, or attack defense, to be on the left. I like
Oh yeah.
that because when you would tap a resonator, you could see it. Both players could see it nice and easily, but that doesn't mean like I can't play the game because I can't see it on the bottom right corner. I mean, that's it's
Yeah, for sure.
they've appeared to make it nice and big, and it does have a box indicating where it is. But yeah, like it was just, I think it was an initial shock that, just like you said, we didn't like change, and we didn't like how sudden it was. So yeah, like and then here's another one, Allosaurus, minion of Lapis. I mean, this
The one
the
spoiled today.
the way his horn is kind of like up in the nameplate, and some of the spell effects coming from like his book and are like, it just looks super nice.
Yeah, the other thing too is, I do want to make very, very clear that when the stuff was posted initially, there was a lot of backlash. But I think it was almost kind of like what you're talking about, of like gut reaction, kind of knee jerk.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really well articulated, and I think that, and I think we're going to talk about this here in a little bit, but one of the biggest things is, I think, if you want to give feedback, articulation is key.
Yes.
And so, that's one of the reasons why, even in that thread, to use this thread as an example, my big thing that I was telling people is, look, it's fine that you're freaked out about this. It's fine that you don't really like it. Tell me why.
Yeah. Be
Be
specific.
be be
Yeah.
specific about why you don't like it. Don't just say, "Oh, this is horrible." That doesn't help anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but
And there were
we'll
some.
get more to that in a
Yeah,
bit.
there were some posts, and I mean, we can kind of jump into that now. There were some posts that were criticizing, and like I said, I made a video criticizing, um, but like the main thing that I kind of want to touch on is the way we as a community present ourselves to people that are interested, or are on the outside, or are kind of hot or cold, not knowing if they want to stay or leave. And one thing that I think, I'll just use an example, like if a new player comes in and posts a picture and says, "Guys, I'm so excited. I just got these new cards and I'm real excited to play." What or they just say like, "What do you guys think?" Like, whatever. Basically, like, I would want people to say things like, "Welcome to the game," "Glad to have you," like, "Hope you pull some good cards, man. That's really cool," and not just like, go off the more negative path of, "Oh, I hope you didn't spend much on that. Like, that stuff's not worth anything." Well, I don't think that everybody necessarily buys cards because they're hoping to make money on them. That's typically not how card games work.
Yeah,
So
for the majority, and I think for Force of Will, I've said this before. If we look at the design of AO1, AO2, AO3, kind of like what I Spy is doing, has been doing, I think we can speak to some of the things being definitely cost saving measures. Like they definitely
Oh,
needed to
sure.
do that. But
Yes.
I think we can also speak to, again, I can't say wholeheartedly. I can only speculate, and I'm a big proponent of trying to not speculate. But just something to consider is, it feels to me like Force of Will has accepted where it falls in terms of the size of the game.
Okay.
Um, in terms of, like, obviously they want it to grow, but I think they recognize that, like, they're not a tier 1 game anymore. Maybe they fell short of being able to reach it there, so it feels like some of the business decisions are kind of based on that fact. And so the community also definitely feels like it's a community that's pretty comfortable with the fact that it's not a tier 1 game, right? Because
Well,
I
that's
think,
what I
like you
wanted
said, is
to
like,
talk to you about.
yeah,
I'm sorry to cut you off, but you just said it. Like, my question is, because here's a good example. We ran a tournament for the FOW
for
Festival, right?
Foul Festival.
Yeah, it was awesome, dude. The whole experience was just breathtaking. I mean, I was in a good mood for a week after that thing, man. Like, I met so many cool people, and I'm like, man, this is it, you know? Like, I'm giving the opening speech, thanking for everyone coming, and I announce the numbers, and everyone starts cheering and clapping. I mean, it was like, this is what it's about, you know? And seeing Jeremy, seeing you run around giving people door prizes and people's faces lighting up and, you know, getting their picture taken, you know, give it a thumbs up and just, man, it was such a cool event. And like I said, I met so many people and I'm like, oh, you're that dude that I always see posting and making good videos or tech, you know, and it's just, it's really cool. So my question is, like, is our community, because the community itself is so important to a game like this, especially a game like this. Like, I love fighting games. I play fighting games. I'm part of the fighting game community, and it's been fantastic. You have a question, somebody will answer it for you, and they'll be like, "Yo, you want to play games? Hop online. This is my username, and I'll like we can lab together." Like, that's how great it is, and I feel like in person that has been my experience with this game. Whereas with Magic the Gathering, I had people calling me racial slurs, like not shaking my hand, telling me like I only won because I got lucky. I mean, I've had terrible experiences playing Magic, and that has not been the case with Force of Will. So, my question is, when we play this game and then we go online and talk about it, because right now we're kind of in this weird situation where that's all we have. We can't go and meet up at locals, and if we do, it's just one or two people and it's at somebody's house, you know, because a lot of stores, they can't really let us just be in
Yeah,
there
for
to
sure.
be in there. So it's kind of a weird situation. So all we have is this Facebook, you know, mainly, or like social media, and I just want to know, like, what is it that makes people feel like they have to immediately post facts that allude to people seeing nothing but negative about the game, or like trying, it's almost as if people try to turn people away from it. And I just can't wrap my head around that. It doesn't
Well, I,
make any sense.
I think negativity comes in a lot of different ways. I think that first off, you speak to the nature of what we're dealing with in the world, right? The pandemic means that there's a lot of things that are suddenly out of people's control. And Force of Will is maybe something that there was a little bit of a consistency in their life, and then suddenly, not only are they not able to play Force of Will, but suddenly Force of Will looks way different. And so, like, people can grieve in that way, and some of the unhealthiest coping skills is for people to just let their frustrations out. I know people are like, oh, well, I just need to vent. And it's like, okay, there's some merit to that, but you also have to, like, find the right place to vent.
Yes.
Right? Because, it's this idea of like, well, I'm just speaking my mind. Okay, well, I mean, just because you're speaking your mind doesn't mean you're resistant to any kind of consequence from it, or that, like, you're not going to get called out, or that you're not going to get, like, told to maybe take it somewhere different.
Yeah.
um
Criticism
and
on your criticism, even.
right, and then I think there's this piece, and it's always been the case with Force of Will, is like any sense of, like, trying to steer people away from negativity is viewed as like trying to be a shill. I mean, I'll speak to the experience that I've had as a content creator doing this game for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest jokes is that, like, Jeremy's just a shill.
Oh, you're a
Like
huge
that's all.
shill. Yeah.
Like I'm a huge shill, right? And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I like I have been very blessed in my experience of doing the content creation to have a lot of doors opened
Yeah.
and to have a lot of opportunities that other people aren't going to get, and to be able to have received cool stuff that other people haven't gotten, right?
Hmm.
That's not why I make content, and it doesn't drive the content that I make. But also, I can see why people would think that, like, oh, Jeremy's just a shell, he doesn't want us to be negative. But I think the piece that I want to provide here is I try to make it clear with my language, and I know that I probably fail sometimes, is that I don't want to steer people away from criticism, because I think criticism is valid when it's provided in a constructive way.
Yes,
I want
that's key.
I want to steer people away from negativity,
Yes.
and toxicity, because that doesn't help anybody and also doesn't get you listened to.
Right.
From a perspective of, we're dealing with a Japanese company here, which is all about respect. And if you are coming to them with, this is all the reasons your game sucks and I hate it, they're not going to pay attention, as opposed to, hey, I'm kind of concerned about why there was a need for a border change right now. I think that there are some things that maybe went a little too far. Is it possible that we could see some adjustments? Like,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. It's a perspective of, like, you have to recognize what they've done and kind of respect it, but then also find a way to provide your opinion.
Hmm.
I mean, keep in mind, like, the clearest example of this is the border change, right? So
Yeah.
even in that post of everybody going off, I was called out multiple times for, like, Jeremy, don't try to stop people from airing their grievances. And I was like, I'm literally not trying to stop anybody. I'm just saying, can you tell me why you don't like something? That's not a question of, like, your opinion isn't valid because you don't like it, because that's not true. Like, if you don't like it, that's a valid opinion to have. But, like, it's not an actionable opinion,
Yeah, and people
right?
need to understand too that I emailed the company and I let them know that I was worried about I would like to see the border be more opaque. And then Jeremy, I know for a fact you message your contacts, and then
Yep.
lo and
Yep.
behold, look at these spoilers, man. You can see the art behind them, even on the non-full art versions.
Yep. And I think that's
So
the
they
thing
listen.
is, I think the thing is that Force Will as a company, one of the things that I think they can always improve on, and I think they've needed to be able to improve on from the very beginning, so not associating it with one company or the other, is expressing when they take an action based on community feedback. That has never been something that they've done. It's just kind of like, okay, a change has happened.
Hmm.
They just kind of make a change happen. They don't really say, we've heard you, we're making a change. They just kind of do it, which I think has led a lot of the community to think, oh, they're just doing things willy-nilly, they're not really paying attention, we're not being heard, because there's not a verbal acknowledgement.
Right.
But I also think that because of that, those of us who have the insider connections, as well as the people who email the company, like, it can seem like you're not getting anywhere. But one of the things I try to express as much as possible is, there are those of us who have connections to the inside who are actively trying to share your feedback to the game, to the
Right.
company, to the people higher ups. Like,
Right.
when the day that the new border stuff dropped, I collected feedback for about 5 or 6 hours, and then I sent messages directly to my contacts about, the perceived complaints about it, the general community, thoughts about things, what they were, maybe some suggestions on how to fix it, and everything else. And I presented that to them, and the response that I got was, "Thank you for letting us know your feedback. We're definitely paying attention to it."
Right. And
Okay.
this is why you were asking for specifics, not because
Right.
you were trying to shut people up. You wanted to be able to formulate an actual constructive criticism so you could pass that
Right.
along.
And this is why I talk about the difference between negativity and criticism. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's possible to have a critique, but present it in like a positive way, without like attacking someone. It's when you go into, for instance, compare. I'll give you two examples, right? Comparing these two statements. So the first pair of statements is, "Wow, this new border sucks. I hate it," versus, "Yeah, this is really different. I don't really like how much darkness is around the border of the new framing."
Right.
Okay, so in both of those comments, I said that I dislike it, but in the second one, my emotional expression was significantly lower,
Right.
and it was focused on the actual concept that I have a problem with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, when we get to, um and emotional expression is the easiest way for things to get out of control. I mean, it's just, that's human nature, right?
Yeah,
Um
and we all fall
and,
victim to it.
yeah, and in the same vein of, let's take it, that's me taking a negative statement and turning it into a criticism, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
also ways where I see negativity, where you don't even need to be negative. For instance, a nice good example would be something like, um, you know, good luck trying to find someone in your area because our game's not very big. Could be rephrased as, "Hey, welcome to the game. We're kind of small, but we're glad to have you here."
Yeah, and
Right?
if
In
yeah,
both of those statements, I'm saying, like, you got to recognize that this isn't a big game, but hey, welcome. Give it a shot. As opposed to in the other one, I'm saying, like, well, best of luck. We're a tiny game. You might get screwed. Like,
right.
it's a difference of that, and I think I'm never gonna try to force, as much as I get frustrated, and my fellow Force of Will admins can attest that I'm probably the one who brings up frustration when I see just rampant negative, as opposed to like critical critique,
Mm-hmm.
brought up in the community. I mean, because I've been doing it for so long, I think, of the current admin team, I am the only one of the original admin team from the original group, right? So I've been doing this and dealing with this for a very long time.
Yeah,
But
for
like,
sure.
I'm not gonna stop people, but I'm also not gonna like stop pointing out that there's a better way to approach it. And I
Yeah,
think that's often seen as like, oh, Jeremy just doesn't want people to be negative. And I'm like, I don't mind you being critiquing and expressing your frustrations, but you're right in that I don't want you to be negative.
yeah. Also, I want to point out that it's very important, and some people might not realize they're doing this. They might not realize that people notice it. If you have criticisms, even if you're 1,000% correct on everything you're saying, if all you do is post criticism after criticism after criticism, it gets taken into a negative connotation, and people start to see, anytime they see your name or hear your voice, they're just like, oh, there they go again, like complaining about whatever, and it turns into complaining rather than criticism. So also, like I said in my first example of like a new player possibly posting and stuff, like they're not asking you to like shit post on them. Like that's not what they don't need that. They don't, they have no idea what they did. Hey man, I just happened to find this rare box of some old cards and stuff. Like, yes, like they probably should know eventually that it's not New Frontiers legal, but here's the thing. I don't know what they're using the cards for. They could be playing kitchen countertop with their friends, with their girlfriend. They could be playing solo and making up stories for the characters and making YouTube videos with the cards. I have no clue what their plans are. Not everybody is a competitive card player that plays card games. So, and then again, if they ask the question, that's different. Hey guys, I bought this box. Is it legal in newer formats? And like, did I get my money's worth? Here's how much I paid. Yeah, like, then you can let them know. Yeah, that says garbage. There's no card worth more than 50 cents in it.
Sure.
But to just kind of like ruin somebody's day, that's the thing that I saw in Magic the Gathering. Like that's the thing that I would see. And I, going back to Street Fighter, like I was guilty of it too. Just like I used to be a negative Nancy about Force of Wills. Like I would shit talk about Street Fighter because I was hurt. I wanted the game to be good. I spent money. I bought a fight stick. I met all these people. I asked them to help me. You know, I bought the deluxe version, got all the DLC characters, you know, got some costumes. Like I was all in, man. And it just hurt that they changed it. So now the dragon punches were no longer invincible. Like the game played completely differently, and I didn't like it. So one day I realized that there was about 6 or 7 people in the group that they would show up and they'd have, you know, a Cammy or a Guile keychain, and they were wearing a Street Fighter shirt with the, you know, the Ryu bandana on it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like ruining their time. These guys come here and they love this game and they play it, and all I do is talk shit and ask people why they would even bother with that game when they could play like Mortal Kombat or something else, you know, like anything else. So I kind of took it on myself to say that this is just not necessary. Even though me complaining about the mechanics of getting a 50-50 on a you know, walk up jab, micro step jab, like that kind of stuff, I was right. Like that shouldn't be in the game. Crush counter should not be in the game. V trigger is stupid. It pauses the game and lets you do an input afterwards. It's for like for a true fighting game player, like that's not stuff you want in a fighting game. So even though I felt like I was right and a lot of people agree with me, it's not my place to come to these people's, you know, safe space of playing games and enjoying their time and spending their money to be there, and for me to just shit on it. So that's why I'm so terrified that I check myself on a constant basis. Like even when I made the critique about the new cards, I was very careful about the way I'm going to present this. I'm not going to shit on the company. I'm not going to say that you should quit playing. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to do that. But at the same time, I don't want that in my community. I don't want just the pure negativity there. So I just, yeah, I'm starting to see it, you know, especially now with the times and the political stuff on Facebook, man, like outside of the Force of Will. It's just like people will post the most ridiculous stuff, and it's just to be like hateful. And I'm like, I'm not going to post on this because it's just going to lead to an argument of stupidity and just pure, you know, it doesn't need to happen. So
You know, I think
yeah.
what it comes to is at the end of the day, you as a player have one, maybe two responsibilities, right?
Okay.
As being a member of the community. I think one, you have a responsibility to yourself to ask yourself, like, is this something that I want to be involved in? And so that there's motivation, responsibility yourself to like constantly be asking yourself that, and like
Mm-hmm.
taking questions to address it if that answer changes, right? So
Right.
if that answer changes from like, is this a community that I want to be a part of anymore, or is this a game that I want to be a part of anymore? If it's the answer is no, then you have to like make a change there, right? Because I think we often see players who probably um, that answer is changed to no, but much in the way of the sunken cost fallacy, like they just can't let go. Like so they're kind of really they're failing that responsibility to themselves to say like, okay, if this is actually something you don't want to be a part of, like take the steps to not be a part of it anymore,
Yeah.
which is not bad. And I think the second responsibility is you have a responsibility to the health of the community, um, purely from the perspective of it's not your job to make sure people are having fun, but it's also not your job to save anybody.
Right.
So like your responsibility to the community is to be a member of the community and not put yourself in a position to control or manipulate or alter the experiences of other people within the community, for the good or the bad. You know, again, that's a weird concept to think of. You know, speaking as a content producer, right? Like my
Mm-hmm.
responsibility to the community is to provide them content, so that by nature is going to influence them for the positive, right? But
Right.
like, but ultimately, that change and that responsibility is because my responsibility to myself is this is a community that I want to be a part of, and this is how I want to be a part of it. Um, but again, ultimately, even regardless of my role, I want to be doing what I can to that responsibility to the second one of like I don't want to try to interfere with anyone else's experience of the game in
Right.
terms of if they're a part of the community. Like, yes, I produce content, so why I contribute to what can be enjoyed about the game, but the purpose of my content is not to say everything's great, this is what you have to be experiencing,
Yeah,
or
this is
you're
how
not a
you have
part,
to play.
or you're not a part of us, right? Like
Right.
that's and so when it comes down to it, I think we see those two pieces. I think those two responsibilities I think are pretty challenged, in the sense of especially now when people are stuck inside and all they have is the community, right? Because they speak
Yeah.
of the vocal minority and how big of a problem is this really and anything else. But I think it ultimately comes down to those two responsibilities of players who their answer to why they want to be involved in the community or if they want to be a part of it has changed,
Mhm.
from yes to no, or from yes to yes but, and they haven't really taken the steps to be in that space. Like I know Force of Will players who are currently judges in Force of Will who don't actively play the game, but they want to be involved in the game, but their involvement is that they want to judge.
Right.
Like that's how they want to be a part of the community, and that's okay, right? That's their responsibility. But we have players who like it's very very clear that they don't really want to be a part of the game anymore, um, but they don't move on. They don't meet that responsibility to themselves,
Right.
or vice versa. They want to be involved in the community, but they see their responsibility to the community as something other than just being a member of the community, um, and try to like protect or keep safe or keep informed or anything else. And it's no one's been called to that.
Yeah.
I mean, in a sense, even us content creators have not been called to that responsibility.
Right.
Um, at least at the beginning. I mean, I'll speak to at this point in time with what I do with the streams. Like, I can't like walk away at this point from doing the GP streams, but like, so in a sense, I've been called to that responsibility. But ultimately, beyond that, like, it's not. No one asked me. No one put it on me to say that I have to make sure people know everything and that I have to make sure that every single one of my players is safe, in the sense of like making sure they don't spend money that they don't need to, or being fully aware of every single purchase they make, or being fully aware of every single format. Like, no one asked me to do that. And when you start to put yourself in that shoe and you start to try to like make your decisions and your actions as a community member based on that perceived responsibility, like, it can come across in a very toxic way,
Yeah. Yeah.
either to the person that you're interacting with, or to the people around you,
Right.
because ultimately it's not your job.
Yeah. And one thing example I'll give for myself is back in the day when singles were super cheap, and there, we had some newer players in our group that were asking about what they should do, and one person was saying, you got to buy the new set, you got to buy boxes and cases and all this, and I told them, that's stupid, don't do that, like just buy singles, it's way cheaper, and just like build the decks you want. Well, like I was wrong, because it's not my place to tell people how to spend their money, like that's not the question, like. So yeah, we really do have to be careful about, like, even though I might have been right, it might have been way cheaper to just buy the singles that you want back, because like back then maybe the most expensive rare was like $5 and everything else was under $1. But that doesn't mean that they didn't want full art. Doesn't mean they didn't want foils, you know. So I just feel like, yeah, I had that responsibility, like you're saying, the responsibility to myself to know that that's not my place. And you know what I need to do is be a good, kind person that cares about the other people in our growing group. This is back when I actually had a local, you know, and I should have been more open to, you know, just, hey man, like, yeah, it's a little expensive, but you know, I hope you get some good pulls, man. It's gonna
Right,
be it's gonna be fun
exactly.
opening those packs.
It's the idea of being a steward, right? So
Yeah.
like being a steward is you don't always necessarily agree with what people are doing, but you're still there as a positive influence.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're still acting in such a way that people have the opportunity to receive a positive influence.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, ultimately, like I said, that's the difference between, and then I think again, if there's one takeaway that I want to try to give people is you can be critical without being negative, and no one's calling on you to make their force of will experience your force of will experience. Like no one is saying that. There's no one saying, hey, the way you view force of will, I want you to make my way of viewing force of will the same as yours.
Yeah.
Because everybody's force of will experience is different. What they want out of the game is different. How they're going to approach the game is different. And like you just like it's not your job to change that.
Yeah.
It's your job to be there and answer questions. As a responsibility to the community, but like answer questions, don't give lectures.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
You're right, man, and it's the experience. And for me, the thing I remember most about like my Magic days, you know, because I had a group of friends that I would travel with, and even like with Force of Will, some of my best memories. Like I did terrible at a tournament in Chicago, but damn, that car ride was fun. Talking, like I got to meet Ryan Miles for after talking to him for 4 years and never meeting him, and you know we got to hear a bunch of stories about his time with ARG, and I you guys cracked me up. I just like randomly start ballroom dancing in the middle of the room, like in the middle of the tournament, you know, like having beers, you know, at a pub and like drafting and having people walk by going, what the hell are they doing? What are those cards? You know, that kind of stuff. Like, so yeah, it's the experience. So don't ruin it. Don't ruin it for yourself, and don't ruin it for other people. Like,
be good people.
Yes,
be good people.
As the great Bill and Ted once said, be excellent to each other.
That's all it is, man.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
What do you think, man? Good place to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is a good conversation. You know, I think, and for those of you who are watching, in the comment sections down below, like, I'm sure you have a story of a good person and a bad person, but like that doesn't matter, right? I think the thing that I want to take away is like if you walk away from here saying, oh, Jeremy's clearly a shill, or oh man, they shared all these stories, I got all these gripes too of these people from the past, or like yeah, blah blah blah, but like consider today your reset button. Like consider watching this video as like your reset. Like take it, move on.
Yeah,
like, past is the past. Like if you like the game, again, go back to those two responsibilities, right? Like forget about the past, meet those two responsibilities, and then do something about it. Like that's it.
Yeah, well said. And yeah, I agree with Jeremy, man. Comment below, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do what you got to do. Subscribe to Ruler School if you haven't already, and subscribe to TCG Scrubs. I'm sure they're gonna still make quality content, just might not be all Force of Will or as heavily Force of Will. And yeah, again, hopefully they come back. They're cool people, and I liked having them in the community. So yeah, I think that about covers it. Anything else you want to add, Jeremy?
That's it. Just keep on playing.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys.